the context of colonialism. Colonialism is at least seen through the lenses of postcolonial studies, the field of space discourse per se. It has its origin in actions meant for conquering the unknown space to control and map it. Historically speaking, colonization is a concept also known as the age of the great geographical discoveries. It is in strict relation to the term colonialism, thus suggesting a historically important phenomenon. The age of the great geographical discoveries implied both terms, and it was a historical period of mapping the newly discovered territories in the name of scientific progress. Worlding, or the post-colonial term reworlding, was also a term used to represent the creation or recreation of a new world by the hands of the European man, and along with their Eurocentrism, made themselves look like a blonde brute or like the world spirit. This historical period witnessed both quantitative and qualitative development in the fields of economy, society, religion, education, politics, administration, culture, and various sciences on behalf of the modern Western European nations. Whereas this respective age resembles a descriptive history by illustrating, in a positive tone, a very content Europe by the findings on the other side of the globe, that Columbus's journey was celebrated as the greatest event in history since the creation. With each new expedition at sea, colonization and colonialism developed also negative meanings. Colonization refers to an action which presumes the intervention of someone into someone else's space. Colonialism, on the other hand, implies the sense of motion, which presupposes a certain phenomenon's consequences upon a larger space than in its initial state. Due to the fact that the term colonization can be traced back to ancient Greece when it implied the action of populating a territory, and which is subordinated to colonialism, we had rather refer to colonialism because it provides a wider outlook on the geographical discovery phenomenon. The Greek colonialism, although stressing the differences between its culture and the culture of the surrounding peoples and thus attributing valences to others in order to crystallize their own identity, is distinct from the modern colonialism because the latter has already consolidated its identity throughout the ages. Moreover, in the case of the modern type of colonialism, the colonialist is imbued with pejorative valence of colonist. Its sense refers to someone populating an unfamiliar space. On the other hand, the Greek colonialism defined the environment in which both us and others interacted. The Western European colonialists, both Catholic Christians and Protestants, encountered others in an untamed space. When the Ottomans and the Arabs threatened the European nations, the latter part financed their wars with the former by exploiting the others in the New World. This vantage point enables me to speak for the first time about the relation between us and the others because, besides the now familiar others, Arabs, there appears an unfamiliar others, New World natives whom we can call the others. The relation between these terms is no longer based upon the dominant-dominated blueprint, but rather upon conqueror-conquered paradigm, because the latter implies a dual manifestation on behalf of the Europeans. Whereas the Western world followed a politics of defense against the Arabs' familiar others, because they claimed protection and property rights upon former Christian lands conquered and still owned by the infidels. The same Europeans led a politics of conquest against the indigenous population of the New World, the others. The possibility of conquering the others, the stake of the stakes, invigorated the European civilization by gaining access to new resources which were converted into greater power of retaliation against the Muslim menace. The others were rapidly converted into human resources to replace the European casualties in wars against the Eastern foe, and more than that, the natives were treated as beasts which needed to be tamed, put into chains and harsh labor. Therefore, besides the conflicting aspects and enterprises meant to keep the balance of power, the so-called geographical discoveries had previously meant conquered territories for the purpose of exploitation by making use of power, technological superiority, and thus claiming abusive rights of property upon them. The conscience of superiority and distance as prejudice of the European civilization represents the origin of antithesis between good and evil, a dialectics of superiority, via which the valences of good versus evil swing from us to others, and vice versa. By taking advantage of far more superior and sophisticated weaponry than those of the indigenous population, who were confused and frightened about the new force, and doubled by hierarchical military strategy, the Europeans imposed their will without much ado. If you like it, please like, share, subscribe for more deep philosophical and historical videos.